A very good morning to everyone. We come to the third part of why past life regression therapy. So, today we talk about this thing called replication. All beings on this planet know how to replicate and how to duplicate, right? From a human being, a human baby is born. From a dog is born. From a cat is born. From the tree behind me, every year the same pink flowers come up, right? Now, if you look at a cellular level, even the DNA replicates and duplicates on itself. Whenever a new child is born, 50% of the DNA comes from mother, 50% from father, and there 25% comes from grandfather, and there 25% comes from grandmother, and here 25% and 25% comes from grandfather, grandmother, and so on and so forth, right? And then those in the body keep on dividing and dividing and dividing, and same kind of cells are formed, you know. So, for example, I look like my mother, some part of me looks like my father, a cat looks like its mother cat, a dog looks like its father dog or mother dog. The plants look like themselves. It's not that there is a difference or a big difference. Whenever there is a big difference, we call it mutation in the gene, and the mutation is also carried forward in the next generation. But what I mean to say that everything on this planet has an ability to replicate itself, has an ability to duplicate itself. There is always some kind of mold, some kind of primariness, and from the primariness the secondary object emerges, and from that the tertiary object emerges, which means that we always have a fundamental base, and from there it takes the impression of that base and the next base is formed. It takes the impression of that base and the next base is formed. All living creatures on this planet are able to reproduce, and I would say are also able to replicate. For example, a starfish that loses one of its arm is capable of regenerating its arm, but it's not that it will regenerate its arm in a different color, in a different shape, in a different form. It will regenerate its arm the way it was before, which means it is replicating. It has an ability to copy that, you see. And how do beings copy? How do beings replicate? Beings are able to replicate, including us, because there is something fundamental, as I said. And what is that fundamental thing? That fundamental thing is memory. Okay, because we have memory, we are able to replicate, we are able to duplicate. Now, what is memory? Is memory a concept? Is memory a reality? Is it something effervescent that we can't touch, can't see? We all know that our genetic material, our DNA carries memories of our parents, and therefore of their parents, and they of their parents, and therefore we do carry memory of the ancestors. Similarly, the cells in the body carry memory of all that we have lived through. Yesterday also I was saying that the body does not forget. The body that remembers everything, and the body compels you to be honest, because if you don't express and if you don't acknowledge your own emotions, the traumas that you have gone through, the difficult events in your life that you have been through, then the body will try to bring it out. Now, because there is replication, because there is memory, because of which there is replication, there is also something called patterns, right? So something keeps on replicating itself in a similar manner, and therefore you have patterns in life. Whether that pattern is a pattern in relationship, a pattern in a similar kind of illness that appears every winter, or that pattern is a pattern of your career graph. Maybe you go high, 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 high to a point, and from there you collapse. Maybe that pattern is with your money, that a lot of money does come to you. It definitely comes to you, but maybe before the month ends, all of your money is spent. So these are called patterns when they keep on happening in a repetitive form, because as beings, as conscious beings, we have only learned to know things by repetition. We've only learned to operate in things because we are familiar to that thing. Everything that is familiar also feels similar. Everything that is similar also gives us an opportunity to replicate that, right? Similarly, in family systems also, when we grow up in a dysfunctional family, that is the only model of family available to us. So even if we don't want to, because we are so much trained subconsciously to replicate that, so we end up replicating that only, even if it's dysfunctional. So that's what we do. Similarly here, when I'm talking about past lives, there are patterns which emerge from past lives which we may be carrying on this life, and it's not anywhere else, it's actually in the cellular memory. Even if it is this body, the impressions of that body are carried forward in this body, because we always function with the tendency to duplicate, replicate, and replication happens because of memory. And by memory, I don't mean only conscious memory, something that you can remember what did you eat last night, but also deep unconscious memory, which may also emerge from spaces which are metaphysical, spiritual, transpersonal, which you may not have direct access to. Even if you don't have direct access to, in a session of regression, what happens is we go back to that memory and we try to find out where did the pattern origin. Because until you hold the hook origin of the pattern, it will keep on replicating, right? We function by replicating. There is no second way about it. And we are able to function because there is memory. And because there is memory, therefore we can also go back to that moment. Even if you do not have it at a conscious level, there are ways, there are techniques, there are processes by which I, as a regression therapist, and if you, of course, train yourself as a therapist, you will be able to take the person back in time to explore that memory, and not only explore, but also release all the traumatic events, all the traumatic experiences connected to that memory, which may have led to the emergence of the pattern. The idea is to go to the origin of the pattern and break it. And that's how past life is also connected to body memory, because at a conscious level it might not be there, but the body has carried it forward. Okay, if you have more questions on this, please do get back to me. Please ask me. I would be happy to answer and remain updated with our videos. And if you want to get trained or participate in our workshops and want to know about these training programs and past life regression therapy, please do ask me. I would really love it. Thank you so much for today. See you soon again.